The final spiritual mastery that we practice in the sovereign way is devotion. In the beginning, in that primordial place of not yetness, in a formless seedbed deep in the dark, an idea suddenly flashed. It was the first idea, in fact, the only idea. I am love. And then, woof, reality burst forth. It was a substance of supreme light that undulates and expands, knowing itself as love and making up the fabric of everything. Galaxies, sandwiches, Chris's emotional intelligence technology, Esther's silver hair, the painted roses on Elise's canvas, the vibration of Martin's voice as he guides us through the sovereign meditations, the dragonflies singing songs to Jess on her porch, the cucumbers that Maren grows in her garden, and also the boardrooms where she uplevels the legal landscape in London. All of it is made of the same fabric of light, including all of you in this room with me and those lovely bottoms that you are sitting on. It was all made of this same moving light. Nothing was created from anything else. We do know that we are made of moving light. We remember this in our brains and our bones and our flesh, but we often forget. And we think that we are made of dust, little particles that are going to shatter and scatter and blow away in the winds of change. And we believe that we have to hold that dust together in the correctly spinning energy field so we can manifest the life we think we want. It's like we're in a desert sandstorm of fact particles that we need to keep putting into the right places. But it isn't actually dust that we return to, because it isn't dust that we come from. You are a substance of supreme light, held together in one cohesive vibration, in one unified field, in one Holy Spirit made of moving love. It's like an oasis of life in the desert, like they're in the same place. And that woomph at the beginning of time, that movement from the heart of God, that spirit is the primordial nature. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, it goes, Spirit moved upon the waters. Now, some might say that the primordial state of being is just isness. But as soon as we knew we existed, we moved. So if love is what we're made of, then love in motion is the simplest state of being. And that's why at the end of our journey, at the culmination of our journey on the sovereign way, we land on the eighth and final spiritual mastery, devotion. Love in motion is devotion. To love the dust and give it meaning. And you might say, but Elizabeth, if devotion is the simplest state of being, then why did we need the 7 previous masteries to get here? If it's so simple that even a baby can do it, in fact, it's the only thing a baby can do, then why do we need this paradoxical journey of maturing so that we can once again become like babies and finally see with innocence and awe and wonder that the flowers have appeared on the countryside and the season of singing has come? Why indeed? Let's look at the journey again that we've taken this season to get here. We started all those 16 weeks ago, or 15 weeks ago, with the first mastery, remembering. Remembering in the first place that love is our only true nature and that real life begins there. That idea precedes movement, which precedes manifestation. So if I put the idea of love first, then love will manifest in my life. That's the oasis that always exists in the same place and the same time in the wild desert sandstorm. And then if I remember that, if I remember to put love first, to be God first, then the second mastery is recognizing when I'm not in love. Aha, this is a structure or a system or a story or a judgment or some other reason why I'm not willing to put love first in this moment. Do you remember Narcissa? In week 2, in our second mastery, Narcissa, she was here in this season to remind us how easy it is to be mesmerized by the surface of all things, and how easy it is as well to pivot and to commune once again with the depths of love in all its forms. It's easy to forget and it's easy to remember, and remembering comes with recognizing. Oh yes, that's not love. And that leads us to the third mastery, releasing. Releasing those things that prevent me from seeing the love that is always present and always springing forth in abundant measure. The season of singing has always come and is always coming. Life is always becoming. So forgiving myself and forgiving everyone else for our incapacity to ever be perfect, that's walking in mercy. Boldly owning and atoning for my imperfection and relying entirely on the grace of God. That's releasing. Which puts me naturally into the fourth mastery, which is expansion. Because expansion is what the universe is always going to be doing, and what it's been doing since the beginning and never will stop is expansion. It's evolution. It's growth. And expansion as a mastery lets me ride that becoming and hold greater and greater measures of God's love for his beautiful creation, reaching beyond my comfort zone, rising above overwhelm and being willing to love more than ever. Which places me in the need for the fifth mastery, genius, because now I must prepare to synthesize and formulate entire new realities that I've never encountered before and manifest when I love more than ever. What manifests more than ever still needs to be understood, embodied, and integrated by me. I need my own mental and vibrational capacity to dive deeper into the heart of God. I need to be able to imagine with awe and wonder what new possibilities and configurations may bring forth elevated ways of connection and growth, and then be present to those things forming, even in the turbulent sandstorm of constant change. Genius is present to what's forming in the ever-present sandstorm of constant change. And if I want to be present to that, then I need the mastery of genius. And the sixth mastery, alchemy, lets me bring this love into fields that others may not dare going into. Knowing well that I will transform and sanctify all things through love. You know, when Jesus threw out the demons, all he said was go. It's an innate command in your vibrational field. Go. Transform all things, deep inner wells and outer fields of energy too, authorizing love to restore all things back to God and turn water into wine. So now you don't have to fear low vibes anymore because you know love is sovereign over all vibes. So now you're an alchemist. You can go anywhere. And that's the seventh mastery, adventuring, which provides the courage and the trust and the provision to surrender to whatever that river of love, that primordial movement of supreme light, wherever it goes. Because you know that you are free, you know you are equipped, and you know you are sovereign to love anywhere, complete freedom to move. But why? What's it all for? Is it so we can finally relax and just manifest anything we want and grow fat on all the peaches and honey and cream in the oasis? To wander blissfully among the hyacinths at sunset? That's a part of it. That's just the natural state of experience. But the eighth mastery in the sovereign way is devotion, love in motion. God is love, and God is motion, and God is with us. Ergo, our truest and simplest state of being, what we really, really want most of all, is love in motion. When I first wrote Sovereign years and years ago, and I was realizing devotion as the eighth mastery, I used to think and feel that this devotion had to be explosive and passionate because the love of God is so vast. And I imagined like a 15th dimensional ecstasy or like transcendental peace or outrageous manifestations and miracles and stuff like that, or diving headfirst into the crucible of self-sacrificial discipleship, or building these vast, really structured, well-oiled mega ministries or multi-million dollar businesses that contribute to regional economies, or a philanthropic plan to help change the fortunes of the poor. And I thought that I had to then personally twist my spiritual growth up into some sort of grand vision of doing great good. But sometimes my season is just that, and I do great good by the nature of my being. And I've since come to experience also devotion as very, very simple and ever present. To love the dust and give it meaning. To see the new thing springing forth, the wellspring in the desert. And to be willing to be the voice that is the cooing of the turtle doves heard in our land. I'm not listening for the cooing. I am the cooing. Devotion doesn't need to feel like bliss either, I've discovered. Sometimes it's scrubbing the floor even when my back hurts because I love my home. Or it's driving the kids to yet another destination even though I'm exhausted because I love them. Or instead of going to the elegant networking event where you wear the silk dresses and you drink the fine wine, instead of going to that event, just sitting with my mother-in-law on the back porch and asking her to teach me the rosary. It sounds like obligation, or at least to me, it sounded like obligation and duty, and that sovereignty was freedom from that. But now I realize that as soon as I'm in love with what is, I've lost a chore and gained a devotion. My husband showed me a video reel a while back. It was an elderly woman being hugged for the first time in years. And her tears were like light opening up, like a whole life opening up. And there's such a woman in my life too, and I'm the only human being who hugs her. There aren't very many people in her life, and the ones who are in that she sees in a week, they're often quite repulsed by her. But I hug her deeply and tenderly. Through the grime and the grease and the self-loathing, I hug her closely. And I've been seeing her every week or so for 2 years, and her life has absolutely blossomed. Because love opens. I had a cup of tea with my friend Maren in London this week, and she's the one who wrote this. These are her words. She wrote, "What a journey it's been as a person, a leader, and a lawyer. This badass person who once felt that she needed to do bigger and better, grow into great things and make the world a better place, sell everything, help the homeless, rescue puppies, and all those other grand visions of doing great good that we're always falling short of. now experiencing the immediate power of being present to love in the moment. When a woman comes to you for comfort or an old lady needs to cross the road. This is still Marn. It's not about the grand gestures, she wrote. You can make changes through small actions that help someone elevate their vibration and increase their faith and positivity. Wow. It's so simple. All that love pouring out. All that love pouring out. And surely the first miracle of being sovereign is that you get to first experience all that love that's pouring through you. It's coming through you after all. And we thought all that love had to pour out and become great things, and maybe it will. But what if it all just pours into that one tiny little person in front of you? And no one else, just that little person. Devotion is a grassroots love movement starting at the smallest of actions that literally saves lives. The moment you start enjoying washing the dishes, you've lost a chore and gained a devotion. Love in motion always calls us beyond ourselves. It isn't true that in order to love someone else, we first need to have finally accepted ourselves fully or perfected our self-love. No, you don't need to love yourself perfectly first. Just go ahead and start loving others now, even if you're in trauma. Now, of course, our self-care and our tender acceptance and appreciation for our bodies and our minds is absolutely devotion. But the natural movement of the primordial current is into the creation, into the other, into the all of which I am a part. Now, there's nothing that I'm required to do when I am free and equipped and sovereign to love, but I am nonetheless compelled to do. You can't help smiling at the rude cashier because you can't help seeing the helpless little baby lying in the manger. You can't help reaching out to the person who scorned you to apologize for being a trigger because you love them. You feel compelled by love to walk the old lady across the road. You will take action for the values that you stand for, and you will create the bridges in the world that leads others home because you love, because your love is in motion. Now, your legacy may be big or it may be small in worldly terms, but the wake of light that you leave as one who lives in devotion, it's immeasurable. You are a miracle worker. Remember the verse that we started our series with? Flowers have appeared in the countryside. The season of singing has come, and the cooing of turtle doves is heard in our land. The fig tree ripens its figs. The vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come away with me, my darling. Come away with me, my beautiful one. That's Song of Songs, chapter 2, verses 12 to 13. King Solomon wrote that like 6,000 years ago, describing the state of being in the garden, in the oasis. Remember, in the beginning, there was a burst of supreme love that became the fabric of everything, and it hasn't stopped moving since. What a supreme privilege to remember the blossoming is always already occurring. What a privilege to be able to participate in the cooing, in the eternal song. In the worship vibration emanating since the beginning, every knee will bow and every heart will sing because light photons become coherent. Love is in motion. King Solomon wrote, "Arise, come away with me, my beautiful one." That's your natural state of being. That's surrender to the beloved and the rising. That's what he says. So just accept yourself as you are and just really start loving others as they are and just see what happens, even if they offend you. I promise it's safe. Life wants you. You belong here with your love in motion and a heart that knows it is not made of dust, but of good light. And participate even now before you've healed all the wounds or mastered every practice or balanced every chakra or memorized every verse or saved every soul, because the Father who sent you knows all of those things and is holding space for your becoming as you set your imperfect love in motion. Do you remember the dragonfly story from inside the Oasis? Give me a nod if you know it. Yep. You remember it. Let's go back there. Let's go back to the dragonfly and find out what happens. So we're in the Oasis. There's a wild desert sandstorm of fact particles whirring around us all the time, substance commanded by spirit to move because of the consciousness of the one commanding it. And there are 8 billion people at least commanding dust to move. And in that wild sandstorm, there is an oasis. There is a wellspring of peace. There is a container of poise and presence where life is always life abundantly. And in the oasis, there's a pond, a dragonfly pond. Now, a pond has many layers. At the very bottom, it's very dense and murky and gloopy and gross. And at the very top, it's light and airy and sparkly and scintillating. Those are the surface waters. And the dragonflies, they come and they lay their eggs, and the eggs float down and they hatch and they become little nymphs. And the little nymphs, they ascend through the waters as they mature. Their life cycle involves ascending from the murky depths all the way up to the sparkling top of the water, the surface of pond life. And there they arrive at the surface of the water. But if you're at the bottom of the surface of the water, you can't penetrate that surface. You can never get through that veil because of the counterforce of the dimension above. That's just how it is. The little nymphs cannot get through the surface of the water, even though they are compelled, even though they feel their evolution happening and they know it's going to happen. There is no way by themselves that they can do it. So they have to swim to a blade of grass. It's a reed, a bulrush reed, that is rooted in the bottom of the pond. And it grows up from the depths all the way up through every layer of water, through the surface of the water and up out into the airy dimension above. It goes from the deepest, darkest, murkiest gloop, it goes all the way up into the airy dimension above, never stopping. And no matter how violent the currents in the pond are, it never breaks. It flows with the movements of reality, but it never breaks. It's not brittle, it's dependable. And so the nymphs, they land on their little feet on the bulrush reed, they land there, and then one by one, their little feet, they walk through the surface because that's where it leads. It always leads through the surface. And as long as they put one foot in front of the other, they go through the surface of the water, and that's where they shed the skin, and now they're a dragonfly. That's how that metamorphosis happens. But remember, they don't just fly off because they're still wet and they don't know anything about air. They've never tried moving in air before. And as Christy pointed out last week, can you imagine what it feels like when you've been held by the density of water for so long, all of a sudden you're in the lightness of air? It feels like you're all alone. You're not ready to fly yet. So the dragonfly continues walking up the blade, up the bulrush reed until it gets to the tippity top. And when it is dry, and when it's adapted to the changing pressure and density, and it's now in air, that's when it takes off. And you notice how few self-help books the dragonfly needs on the way up the bull? Not a single one. It doesn't do any online courses. It just follows the blade. It keeps following the blade until such time as it just takes off. Poised in the air. Not held in place by the density of water, but by a perfect interaction between you and the laws of the universe. The laws of lift and gravity, propulsion, counterforce, and you. And the current of the winds. So what was once your ascension densely held and propelled by an innate momentum you couldn't name, now, as sovereign in your form as dragonfly, you are held in place by the interaction between your mechanism, your choice, your behavior, the laws of the universe, and the currents of the wind. And you might think that that's the end of the story. Great, now I'm sovereign. Now I can fly anywhere I like. I can whiz around at the speed of light. But my husband pointed something out to me this morning that I hadn't thought of. Have you ever noticed that the dragonfly never strays far from water? She always returns. Sure, she whizzes off and goes and visits all the beautiful flowers and plays on the currents of the wind, but she always comes back to the water. She loves the water of the pond in the oasis. She loves the flowers that grow all around. She loves the way the light sparkles on the surface. Like Narcissa loved the sparkles of the light on the surface, Dragonfly loves those too. And she loves the way that the light penetrates the surface and lights up all the little nymphs below and makes them sparkle and glitter. Not that they recognize that though. Even with the power of almost supersonic flight, whizzing along anywhere she wants, Dragonfly always returns home to the pond. Isn't it relieving to know that home, something so timeless and so supremely lovely, prevails when love is in motion? Thank you for watching. Let's turn off our recording and get together in the oasis.